Last orders again for Britain's pubs and restaurants. A nationwide lockdown will go into effect on Thursday, forcing all non-essential shops and services to close their doors for at least 4 weeks. Schools and universities will stay open. Government scientists say infection rates are exceeding worst-case scenarios modelled just weeks ago and warn deaths could soon exceed the springtime peak. Prime Minister Boris Johnson told lawmakers Monday the lockdown is vital to protect Britain's National Health Service.
If we allow our health system to be overwhelmed, exactly as the data now suggests, then that would not only be a disaster for thousands of COVID patients, because their survival rates would fall, we would also reach a point where the NHS was no longer there for everyone. The sick would be turned away because there was no room in our hospitals.
Johnson had, until now, resisted calls for a second lockdown, despite sharply rising infection rates through September and October. Over 2/3 of Britons support the measures, according to a poll published Monday. So, will it work? Scientists are unsure.
Particularly with schools, there's some evidence that older children are drivers of infection. So keeping those schools open means that driving down the number of infections in the UK will be more difficult than it otherwise would have been. So we'll see what effect that has over the coming month.
The government has extended its furlough scheme, which pays 80% of workers' wages at firms hit by the lockdown, alongside grants for businesses forced to close. During the first lockdown, the British economy shrunk by a fifth. Many companies rely on Christmas trading to boost profits, and there are fears of further economic pain.
We're just going to end up going through this weird cycle of closing and opening and closing and opening, and people are just going to continue to lose their jobs and rely on government support to pay their rent.
British lawmakers are expected to vote through the new lockdown plans Wednesday, but this time there is greater opposition to the measures. Nigel Farage, not an MP, but widely seen as the architect of Britain's exit from the European Union, has announced plans to rebrand his Brexit party into the Reform Party, with opposition to the lockdown its central theme. This despite the World Health Organization this week saying Europe is once again the epicenter of the pandemic. France and Belgium have imposed nighttime curfews in addition to month-long lockdowns as infections surge. In Spain, protesters clashed with police amid lockdown measures in several regions. Germany and Italy, along with several other European states, have imposed tighter restrictions. The hope is that locking down now will mean an easing of the rules for Christmas. But if infections remain high, European governments say the lockdowns could last for several more weeks. Henry Ridgewell for VOA News, London.